Here's a good question. It said, by the time Iger leaves, we'll have a new Star Wars film, Shanghai Disneyland, and a bunch of other developments. Being Disney CEO is an incredibly tough job. You have to manage the Marvel people, Pixar people, ESPN, and everything else. Who do you think is a good candidate to handle that job? And what are the expectations for the post-Iger era? So Iger didn't you recently say, I'm not leaving after all, though?
Well, no. He did, what Iger initially wanted to do is, remember, he's chairman and CEO. He wanted to actually hand off the chairmanship, stay on as CEO, and for another year, and then with the notion of you want to be there to help the guy transition, and because he himself just knew from the Eisner years how crazy it got, and but now they've decided basically to sync up his exit. So like, okay, it's all going to happen in 2016. And as for a replacement, everyone has kind of always assumed, they did the thing with Rizzullo and Staggs where they swapped the position. The CFO became the head of Parks and Resorts and vice versa. And the Disney fan community is sort of fixated on that, not realizing that when Alan Horn was brought in to replace Rich Ross as the head of the studio, that this is the guy who has lots of corporate experience, on the Warner Brothers side. He's the guy who wrote her on the entire Harry Potter film series. He's got the respect of the industry, and this is a guy who's got the resume for the gig. And honestly, I would be paying attention to what's going on with Alan,
The third guy.
The third guy. Don't. I mean, and in fact, what's kind of interesting is that when they announced they were extending Iger, there was a lot of grumbling within the company that both Staggs and Rizzullo felt that, this was, they've both been patiently waiting to, hell, they've both been patiently waiting just to be tapped, to officially be number 2.
Yeah.
Let alone.
That's right, sort of a co-thing right now, right?
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's very much in flux, and it's a very insightful question because think about it. The Disney company is so huge now.
Yeah.
And that coupled with the fact, never mind about Marvel, never mind about Lucas. How about the idea that one of your primary moneymakers for the company is ESPN?
ESPN, yeah. There's a good thing in the Disney just did earnings earlier in the week.
Yep.
There's an interesting thing on that they're essentially getting the bulk of their revenue from people who don't even watch ESPN.
Yeah.
Just the way the cable arrangement is made is that 10 or 20% of the people who watch ESPN drive so much demand that the other 80% that don't watch it still have to have it on their cable package, and that's where they get their money from.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the ESPN deal is astounding,
but yet as a CEO, they have to know how to navigate that. I mean, it's not just the theme parks, it's not just the movies. They have to know the intricacies of cable negotiations, which is really complicated stuff.
Yeah, again, that's one of the reasons why the fact that this has been a relatively calm, peaceful period for the Walt Disney Company kind of speaks volumes about Iger. He really does know a lot about all of the arms of the company, but at the same time, he's put people in positions and places that he trusts. The only time you see Bob step in is when things go south. Whether it's a Rich Ross that it's just a tragic case of you promoted a guy who was really good at the television side and you put him in charge of the studio.
And it just didn't work out.
Didn't work out. So.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't predict those things. So.
No, you can't. You can't. Sometimes you transplant somebody and they thrive.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting question. This is from Joshua, age 11. It said, will there be Universal Undercover with Jim Hill in the unofficial guide to Disney World for Kids 2014? It wasn't in the 2013 edition, and I missed it.
I don't know.
We didn't, Joshua, I hate to disappoint you. We didn't do Universal tidbits in the big book, so I don't think it's going to be in the kids book. But we'll work on it for the next edition.
Okay.
We'll try and get something online.
There's good stories there. I promise. We'll get them.
Lots of them.
Yeah.
We ran out of space. 848 pages. We ran out of space.